use. Plug it into a surge protector, get your machine plugged in. We've got a power cord here, goes into the device. There are very minimal buttons on this device, so it's very, very easy to use, okay? So we have power, we have an intensity knob, we have a start and a stop button, and we have a variable timer. Now, if you have our office model, basically you're not going to have a stop button and you're just going to have a 3-minute cycle, okay? So if you have any questions about that or you have any trouble using those devices, get with us and we'll show it to you. But this device here does have the variable timer, the start and the stop button, and your intensity knob. So when I power up the device, I always want to do that when I have loops in the machine. I don't want to power the device up until I have some loops in there. These cables are very, very good, strong cables that connect, and they actually have a locking mechanism to go into the machine. So what you want to do is you want to plug this in without touching this little silver guy here, the release. And when you plug it in and you turn it, you'll hear a click. That's what you want to hear when you're plugging things into this machine. If you hear the click, you know that it's locked in and it's not going to fall out. What we don't want is somebody doing range of motion and these start to wiggle out and come out, okay? Because then we have a current going through our loop. It has nowhere to go, okay? So we don't want you to damage the machine doing that. So we have a release. Basically, you just pull back on the tab and these two connectors will come out very easily. But once you have them in, now we can actually power the device up. So I'm going to plug them in and hit the orange button. The orange button is right down here next to the power cord. And now we have power. The fans are going to come on. You're going to hear the fans going. Okay. Now, if these were to accidentally come out right now, you're still okay. There's no current coming through this until you hit the green button. Okay. But for best practices, you always want to power down before you take these out or put another loop in. Now, we always want to have our intensity knob to the minus sign, actually to the right. And our knob doesn't have a marker on it to say when it's at the lowest level. It's all to feel. So basically, you just turn it to the right until it stops. You don't want to twist it hard because you don't want to damage the insides of the machine. Basically, when it comes to a stop, the pulse is stopped. You just want to go toward the minus sign. When you go toward the plus sign, that will increase intensity, and I'll show you that in just a minute. The variable timer, I usually have it set at 3 minutes for most sessions with loops, and then I move this variable timer up when I'm just laying somebody on the mat. But basically, this little red stick is your variable timer. So if I want it set for 4 minutes or 6 minutes or 3 minutes, I just move that little red stick wherever I want, and when I hit the start button, the machine will run for that amount of time. The stick won't move or anything like that, but the computer inside knows to pulse for that number of minutes, okay? There is a timer on here that keeps track of the hours of your machine, and that's just knowledge if the machine ever does need some maintenance. The manufacturer wants to know what hours the machine is at. I'm going to demonstrate intensity for you with this device, and it's always designed to be comfortable for the patient. So I have Jim here, and I'm going to put this around his head, and I'm just going to rest it on his chest. And this should always be comfortable for a patient. Okay, so if I have this all the way down and I hit the green button, I'm actually going to get a blinking next to the timer here. So now there's a current going through this wire, and if I increase the intensity, Jim here is going to feel a magnetic field going through his body. So I pay attention to the patient. How you doing, Jim? Okay, and I want you to tell me when it's comfortable for you.
Right there is very comfortable.
Very comfortable.
However, you can turn it up.
Okay, I'll turn it up a little more. Would you say that's a little too much? So the patient is going to tell you what their comfort level is, okay? Now, I wouldn't do this to a normal person, but if I were to turn this up, without him, and he gets uncomfortable, he's going to yell at me, say, hey, that's too high. So I'm going to lower it down to what's comfortable for him, okay? Now, if I turn this all the way down to where he just hears it, he is still getting the magnetic field. However, we want them to feel the magnetic field to their comfort level. So about right there, okay? So then we just let the machine run for the time period, and that's how easy it is to use this machine.